So we'll be talking about travel a little bit today.
Oh
I'm
shit,
up
we're
here in the.
recording.
Oh yeah, we're recording. Yeah, it's all right.
Uh,
It's I've been recording this whole time. So we'll talk about travel a little bit today. I'm up in the rooftop cafe at the hotel that I'm at. It's my last day here. I'm actually flying out this afternoon or this evening. Of course, I'm a little under the weather, which figures before a flight, and there's going to be some background noise. So I apologize for that ahead of time. But I'll show you here. We can see that's the Da Nang skyline there that goes to
can you
downtown, and
make
then
that your backdrop, or is it?
I'd have. Yeah, there's no way to really do that because there's nowhere to sit. Like this is the window right here.
You can
Um,
just leave it like that if you want.
just like talking like that. It's actually not a bad idea. I thought about that earlier. So there shouldn't be too much noise up here. I went over to the mixing board where they have the hotel music piped in. They play the same shit over and over again, and I turned it down when they weren't looking. And I don't think they've figured it out yet. But if the music cranks up or there's a bunch of blenders going in the background, I apologize for that. So
You
we figure
basically
since we
own the
haven't,
place now, no?
well, you should, yeah. I haven't said a word. We've had no communication for the last 3 months, but they're used to me being around anyway. So I'm the guy that comes up and works for 12 hours a day and drinks a whole bunch of these, which I've managed to spill all over the place already. I'm not even sure what's in that stuff. This Vietnamese coffee, it's pretty good. It's very strong.
Yeah.
It goes from you go from being pretty tired to full on panic attack in about 20 seconds as soon as it hits your
Nice.
as soon as it hits your yeah, yeah. It's like holy shit. Now you get up and
You're
do like a
drinking
lap
like
around.
2 a day, 3 a day.
No more than two. But one of these things will, if you sip it, I think that's what it's meant for sipping for a few hours. It lasts all morning. I mean, this stuff's crazy, but yeah, it'd be nice to get away from that and get back to my weak American Starbucks. But no, it's my last day here. We'll fly out tonight and 6 hours to Korea and then 12 hours or 10 hours to Seattle, which is on the west coast of the U.S., and then to Denver for a little while. But we were talking the other day that we haven't really done a travel specific episode where we just kind of talked about where we started and how we got to where we are now, without going into too much detail or talking about apps or platforms. We can get into that some other day where we discuss some of the tools that we use, but just our travels in general, like when we started traveling, where we've been so far. So I don't know if you want to kick that off with
Where,
kind of your.
where, we're going back to the US. Like, where are you from? You from Florida?
Well, no, I lived in Florida for 15 years, so I moved all over the place. I grew up in northern Minnesota, which is kind of up by Canada, and then I left at 18, and then was in the military for a while, so I moved all over the place for that, all over the U.S. and abroad for that, and then got a job with the government, started working in D.C., was there for a few years, and then the Carolinas, which is kind of down on the East Coast a little bit. Then back to DC, then Minneapolis, which is the capital city in the state where I grew up. Then down to Key West, Florida, for 2 years, and then Fort Lauderdale, Florida, which is about 20 minutes north of Miami. And I
Oh
was there
yeah.
for 12 years there before I left. It's a great place. It's one of my favorite places I've ever lived. It's just the only thing there is to do there is just drink and party all the time and then work long hours. So yeah, I know it sounds cliche to say it was killing me, but it probably was killing me. So it was good to get out of there when I did. And that was 160 days ago. Speaking of timing, we had our
Wow.
first conversation about starting this project. Our first conversation about this was 100 days ago to the day today. I just looked at
Really?
our calendar.
Ah,
Yeah. So the very first message, when it was not even an idea, we didn't have a name, we still don't know what we're doing, but we just didn't have a clue, was exactly 100 days ago. And now we're on our seventh podcast,
wow.
amongst, yeah, amongst other videos and everything else and all the other programs we've got going on, that some of this stuff people know about, some of the stuff we're working on that we haven't really announced. Some of it's business, some of it has to do with the Soloventure stuff here. It all kind of ties together. But yeah, it's only been 100 days for that. So that's crazy. Seeing that, I feel like we've been doing this for 10 years, but it's probably because I've been up here working so much. But yeah, no, I left Florida in November of 2021, I think. It's been 160 days. I have little countdown clocks on my Notion dashboards. I don't know if this is healthy or not. They let me know how long I've been doing something. So sometimes it's good, and sometimes it's just a reminder of like, you know, oh shit, you've either have or haven't reached the goal yet. Um, I went to Mexico. We packed up, sold everything, got rid of all of our things,
And you
which
had
wasn't any.
like you had the house, you had cars, like you had the. Did you have the American dream?
Yeah, no, really, yeah. And I had the house that I was living in. I had furniture uh, in the past. In this last place I was in, I was renting, but it was a 3 bedroom, 3 bath house, which is pretty good size in Florida, Fort Lauderdale. We had a pool and everything. Like all those things that people see on TV that Americans have. I had all those things. So, but it was good. It was a really good life. But it's just a house full of things. Just tons of stuff. And I remember watching some Netflix show where some guys. They say if you pack up your entire house, this is a lot of work for somebody to do who's not moving, but if you pack up your entire house and whatever you don't unpack a couple months later, then obviously you don't need that stuff. That's a little
Yeah,
extreme, because there's obviously pictures and things on the walls that you just don't
sure.
reach for
Memories.
most
Yeah,
of the time.
yeah,
Yeah. But I had everything. I had all that stuff. I had to get rid of most of it. I sold some of the stuff that was worth selling, donated most of the old clothing, or there's just things I don't wear. I don't intend to be anywhere cold if I can help it. So I got rid of all that winter crap and got rid of the car. So yeah, it was very freeing, and it was like a huge weight off. I didn't realize how nice it was going to be to get rid of that and just to travel with everything I need is just in our bags right now, which is a really nice way to live. And it now there's no pressure to buy anything anywhere. Like even if we
yeah,
saw something cool over here, we're in Vietnam now, but if we saw something cool, we can't fit it in our bags anyway, and we have nowhere to put it. So, like some people, they like that. Sorry, they're blending back here. Shoulder a margarita while I'm up here. But some people, they like to have places where they can put a bunch of shit. I don't like that. I think it's this huge like relief or weight or whatever you want to call it, not having a whole
yeah.
bunch of
It's
things to get
incredible.
back to. And you can also live a better life too, like as I was showing you a minute ago, and I'll just do it again here real quick. Uh, we're staying in this hotel here, this 5-star resort on Da Nang Beach, and it's not expensive here in Vietnam. But because we don't have a rent or a mortgage or anything to pay back home, or car payments or insurance, you name it, everything that goes along with living, we can live in nicer places here. A lot of people say,
Yeah,
"Well, how do you afford to travel so much?" I was like, "Well, A, I've been working hard to make good money, and B, if you don't have a bunch of payments back home, you can really do whatever you want." So that first that getting rid of all that stuff was very freeing. I'm sure you've had the same experience. And then we went to, just to give you the quick timeline here, we started in Playa del Carmen, Mexico. It was only like an hour and a half flight from where we lived in Florida. It was direct, so I figured it was like a little baby step to start the whole Nomad thing. And it was also a big expat tourist area, so it was kind of a cheap way to get out of there. Like it wasn't like an immersive experience. Everybody spoke English,
sure.
and it was similar like to Western culture there. All the same bars and everything, and all the douchey American bars are there, like the Hard Rock Cafe, all that stuff. I
Sure.
shouldn't say that. I used to have a contract with the Hard Rock. I should probably not
Oh,
omit
really?
that. Cut that out. Yeah, yeah. No, I have a lot of good friends that work at corporate because their big offices it was by my place there. But yeah, that first 5 months in Playa del Carmen.
Are they looking for AI assistants?
Oh God, I didn't even think about that. That's not a bad idea. I'm sure they've got somebody
I feel
working on
like
that.
you've got all of the context, so you just need to be like,
Yeah,
"Hi."
so the Hard Rock International, that's where they're based out of Fort Lauderdale, there, Miami, whatever, Hollywood. Um, that's their big corporate headquarters, and I don't even know what that's where that big guitar casino is. I don't know
Okay,
if you've
yeah,
seen it. Yeah, and they've got. I mean, I don't know how much they're making, like $1 billion a day just off of idiots and their gambling, 24 hours a day, tax free.
crazy.
So, but yeah, that first leg in Playa del Carmen was like not was it was like a baby step. It was, we had nice places there for fairly reasonable pricing, and just worked. But that's when I hadn't done any copywriting work. I didn't even really know what it was. I don't really know if I still if I still know what it is now. I'm not really sure if I figured it out, but that was like the 5 months of just trying to lay off the drinking and all the other nonsense and get a little bit healthier and learn about copywriting. So, but we'll get into that some other day. But to fast forward the timeline back to the U.S. for a while, then we ended up in Tenerife, Spain, the Canary Islands there. It's off the coast of Africa. And for 3 months, went back to the U.S., stayed for a few months, and then this is the second or third big trip out. Started in Bali, um, then Kuala Lumpur, and now been in Vietnam for 3 months, and ready to get back. It's I think that these 8 or 9 month trips out may be a little much, because there's certain
Yeah.
things I'm used to having. Not that the shopping here is not great. It's a very modern place. Kuala Lumpur was a very modern city, but there's just certain things like that we're used to getting. Like as soon as I get back, I got to go to a fucking. I don't know if you have Best Buy. It's like a big electronics store in the U.S. I've got like 10 things I need from there that I can't get here. So little things like that. But as far as traveling goes, Mexico, Canary Islands, then Southeast Asia to Bali, Kuala Lumpur, and here in Vietnam, and that's it. And then next year, or next after spending some summertime in the U.S., we got to plan that out. So obviously, the first thought is to come somewhere in your direction so we can kind of ramp everything up and get everybody together over there. But that's my
Yeah,
short
man.
version. I don't know. You've been traveling a lot longer than I have, though, haven't you?
No, no, not at all. Not at all. I I left in November, so it's been 8 months since I left. Um, yeah, I mean, you could call it the start was in October. I technically went up to Wales for a little bit, but it wasn't a holiday. I was working up there, and that was like hiking. I don't know if you've seen Wales before. Lots
A
of
little bit.
mountains in the north. That was really nice. And November kicked it off properly. I went to Valencia in Spain and stayed in coliving.com, for anyone that doesn't know, is like a platform for really cool spaces around the world. Um, and you get to meet lots of really cool people, and they tend to be remote workers, digital nomads, but you also get travelers as well. And you end up staying in really cool spaces with lots of people. And I stayed in a place in the Spanish countryside in the northeast. Um, I don't think it was quite Catalonia, but it was in the northeast of Spain, and it was like a dream. Like there was like 15 of us in the house, again, mix of remote workers. It was like so it was November, so it was like still warmish. It was like 18, 19 degrees. Very, very peaceful. There was a fireplace in the office, which was really cool. So like getting up early in the morning and it's like a roasting fire is already going, which was cool.
That's great.
Um, and we all ate together, lunches, dinners. There was always activities on. It felt very wholesome and such a contrast to London. So that's where I'd come from. That's where I'd been living for a couple of years. Insane contrast to like horns beeping all the time, like tons and tons of people, hundreds of thousands of people, well, millions, to the remote Spanish countryside. And it was like the best way to kick it off. Really, really
Yeah.
enjoyed it. Fully recommend coliving.com. And after that, I did scoot home for Christmas because I was so close. Why not? And then January went back to Spain, another co-living space, um, definitely in Catalonia this time, um, near Barcelona, and it was a lot colder than my first experience in Spain a couple of months previous. But again, in the countryside, um, really nice people again. And from there, came to Madrid. I did a little stint in Barcelona for like a weekend, then came to Madrid. I know a lot of people in Spain, so it's less unfamiliar. Like in Madrid, like there's loads of people I know from when I lived in a place called Brighton in the UK. There's loads of Spanish and Italians and French go to Brighton to do like language courses. Um,
Sure.
So Madrid was really fun, and I kind of knew my way around already. Um, and then where the hell did I go after that? Albania. Albania.
Yeah,
So,
that was on my list too. They got a pretty good. It's 180 days, I think you could stay. Like the visa's pretty chill there, I think. And then they got some beaches and all that. I mean, were you like what part of the country were you in though?
I was in the capital, Tirana.
Mhm.
I didn't make it out to the coast, unfortunately, but I've also heard it's beautiful. The Alps, the Albanian Alps in the north, from the images I've seen, looks stunning. It looks like Switzerland. Um, Especially you've got these Instagram reels of like people on horses, not even people on horses, but like horses running free through the kind of luscious green grass. So it looks really, really nice. But the capital city was really cool. Small, insanely friendly people. The Albanians were lovely. Um, Not tons to do. Like it's not like it's quite a small city. Um, but there's some interesting architecture, like Soviet style, kind of grotesque. I can't remember. Brutalist, sorry, brutalist architecture, um, which I thought was quite cool. Um, Hiking, I'd like to go back and do some hiking in the Alps, but also near the capital city. Um, and yeah, I went from Albania to back to Spain, did the south coast, went to Granada, one of my favorite places um, in the world, technically, but in Spain especially. Really small little city. It's like an hour away from the coast. Really nice, kind of picturesque streets. You've got the Alhambras, which is this kind of uh, building overlooking the city. I think it used to be like a bit of a fortress, and it's like the
Mhm.
main attraction there. You've also got oh, I'm gonna get it from all the Spanish watchers because I'm gonna get this wrong, but
Yeah,
it's flamenco. Oh, I need to check this before I disappoint
that's all right. You
everyone I
could do
know who's
a little
Spanish.
fact check.
But I think it was flamenco is the no flamenco Sevilla. Fuck.
Sounds familiar,
I
but I
need
don't
to
know why.
I need to make sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of history
Granada.
with that Alhambra as well. That changed hands several. A lot of
Flamenco.
religious battles. Flamenco, yeah.
Got it. I was
Fact
right.
check.
Fuck yeah. Birthplace. I didn't get to see a dance, which was frustrating, but I'll go back there. I know a few people who live there. Zamora in the north of Spain, also really nice, much smaller city, but I recommend anyone going to Spain to visit Zamora. Yeah, really beautiful. And then I got a coach from Zamora in the north to Porto in Portugal. Had an insane time in Portugal. Stayed in a hostel this time, which I think for people doing what we do is like people don't want to do it because they're running a business, like they want to work, and they're kind of the idea of a hostel is like it's a party vibe. Everyone's drinking all the time, which is 100% a lot of hostels, but some are quieter. Though I stayed in one in Granada, that was really quiet and peaceful, and there were a mix of ages, and it wasn't no one was partying, and it was really clean and really cool. Hostel Nut if you're going to Granada, and Spot Hostel in Porto is where I stayed. Really friendly staff, and it was more of a party vibe, but it was okay. Like I went out to cafes and worked in the day, and it wasn't like the rooms were busy. Like there were people snoring, which is obviously frustrating, but nothing worse than that. And
Right.
then I went to I met someone in the hostel who was like, "Do you want to go on a road trip?" And I was like, "Yes, I would like to go on a road trip." I think we'd known each other for like 24 hours, so we hired a
Awesome.
car, drove into the wine valley of Portugal, and stayed in an Airbnb for 3 days. Did
That's
some
great.
wine tasting, had some insane Portuguese food in this like there was like hardly any tourists in this like little village. Super authentic experience. The port wine was delicious. Um, and it's like, oh, we drove. I love driving, but we drove on, I think it was like voted the world's best road to drive on in like 2015 or 16 or something, which was sick. And
I'll
I was
look
just
that
there
up.
like, and obviously she was there like the whole time. No, not really.
That's great.
I was nice. I kept it to a minimum. But yeah, that's fuck. And then I'm now in Cyprus.
Right.
So Schengen area. We decided to do Brexit for some reason, and
Yeah.
I have a limit in Europe, so I have like 3 months in a 180-day period. So I had to escape, come to Cyprus, and I leave in 3 weeks.
Yeah. No, the whole Brexit thing's a mess. That really screwed you guys over. We ran into a bunch of
Yeah,
Brits in Tenerife that were having the same problem, because they have to deal with all that there too. So it's funny. You move around like quite a bit more than we do. Like you're more frequently, I guess. We like to get somewhere because we have a lot of shit. We have all of our bags and everything, like a lot of stuff. And it's easier for us just to get somewhere for our 2 month minimum is usually kind of what we go for. But it's
yeah,
interesting. Like, so obviously, well, we could, as a couple, we could stay in a hostel because people do that. We just, it's just easier for us to have a room. But it's
yeah,
funny, though, thinking about, because on the one hand, I have a built in like travel partner to do things with. On the other hand, for us to meet like other people, like get out, like meet, make friends and everything else, we have to like make it a point to go find a like a pub or something, or where the expats hang out, or where we can find some people to hang out with. And I guess the advantage of like staying at a decent hostel, that's because I think people have this image in their mind of a hostel of like people just crammed into bunk beds or something like that. And I'm sure there are some
yeah,
like that, but I'm sure like there's some really nice ones also. But yeah, you have kind of like a built-in crowd, like because even if you don't get along with everybody there, there's going to be at least one other person that has a similar like schedule as you do, that has like something that they want to do, that they want to check out. So it's like that's pretty cool too. That's something that we have to like seek that out. We have to like join Facebook groups and everything else, and to find like tours. Otherwise, we're just trapped in our own little. Just the two of us, the only two people in the building speaking English to each other, but
the
definitely,
couple bubble.
yeah, yeah, really, yeah. It's interesting. I mean, it works for us because we work a lot. We get along anyway. We can be around each other 24 hours a day, but we do have to make a point to like go out and like try to run into people, or just like on our visa runs here, we had to go every 30 days in Vietnam because it's only 30-day visa. Unfortunately, we met we met a lot of other people on the bus that were doing what we were doing. So we had people to drink with, even though I don't do that as much anymore. But yeah, I could see where a hostel would probably be. Like staying in a place like that with community would probably fast forward your experience a little bit, because you immediately run into
Mm.
somebody that's either just come back from doing something that you want to do, or if you want to do something, somebody that got there is like, I'll go with you, because that'd be awesome.
Yeah, even like simple stuff like walking tours. Like there are a bunch of us that were like, "Oh, should we just go on a walking tour tomorrow?" It's like free and a nice way to like explore the location you're in and then get to know them as you go. Because you're both doing something new together and like low barrier. Because obviously, like if you are in a hostel and you're staying with more travelers, they're definitely more budget conscious. So that's kind of like an easy win. And also, you'll find this when you come over here, and I mean, it might be the same in. I would expect. I don't know, but it's a lot of the hostels have private rooms, so you can kind of get both. You can like book in and have a private room, and then also have access to the community, kind of downstairs in the communal areas, and live in the same place. So that's really cool too.
Yeah, no, I need to look into that more. It's like whenever I hear hostel, I think didn't somebody make a bunch of horror movies about that shit too. Of course, so you just you do these images, and I think and hearing it from you now, it like makes it sound like that's something I need to check out. So anybody who's listening, like just try every option, because it is nice where we're at now, having our own room and everything. But you kind of, if you don't make it a point, because it's happened to us everywhere we go. Next thing you know, it's 2 months in, you haven't met anybody, you haven't talked to anybody, or done half the things that we're here for. I mean, I was busy working this time here, and I'm not complaining, because the clients that I got, I mean, I do complain about this every day, but I'm not complaining right now. But the clients that I got are pretty good, and I enjoy the work I do when I'm not like angry having to work so much. But Yeah, 3 months went right by, and we've seen a few sites around here, but yeah, I could have done this anywhere. So it's just a lesson learned. Every time you go somewhere, you pick up something that you try not to do the next time, or try to tailor something a little bit better the next time. But yeah, back in the U.S., we bounce around with family, and there's plenty of room there. We don't stay too long in each location. A couple weeks here and there. Um,
Are you
whenever time.
flying to each location because it's massive, isn't it? Or are you
Yeah,
road? Are you driving?
you kind of it kind of sucks either way. So we're flying a lot. We're renting a car, hiring a car, as you guys say, to drive. But that sucks too, man. I mean, that's like a whole day driving.
Yeah,
So it's a combination of both of having the car, and then because we don't have one, we have to rent one. It's not that
yeah,
expensive. But and because flying is fast, but got to just the airports and all that crap, that gets old too. So
yeah.
we'll bounce around with family and stay for free as much as possible. Try to go do a few things. So you're where are you headed after this?
I'm going to 3 weeks' time. I'm going to Sofia, Bulgaria. I'm meeting up with the person I met in Portugal. So we've kept in touch. And so we're like, yeah, let's do another little trip. This time it's like 9 days in Bulgaria, road tripping. So we'll go all around the west side of Bulgaria, which would be really cool. And then literally 3 days ago, I booked a place in Italy, and I was so close to going to Bulgaria, like staying in Bulgaria for like extending it another month. Um, and I was also looking at this other location in Italy, and the moment I found out James Bond No Time to Die was filmed in this
Yeah.
location, and I saw the montage from the film, I was like, oh, this place looks amazing. I have to go
Yeah. Oh, fuck
there.
yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, Matera, Italy, which would be really, really nice. And looks like a good location to hire a car and like go and visit other spots. Plus, the train network seems to be pretty good in Italy. So I will probably, I've been to Rome before, but as a kid. And now I think if I got a train over there and went to the Vatican, I'd have massive appreciation for it now, compared to when I was last there. So hopefully I'll be there for a month and I'll get a few things done. Would love to go to like the opera in Italy. I think that would be kind of a bucket list. And then I'll probably train it up to Milan. I love trains. I just think it's a really cool way to see the country that you're in.
Yeah.
And I'll fly from Milan home. So I'm going to go back for possibly a month in the UK, in like the best month
Right.
weather-wise for the UK,
Right.
um, and like visit friends and family, that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
and then Poland after that.
Yeah. No, it's funny. Like, you're right. When you do things, when I was fortunate when I was younger, like both my parents worked for the government, for the state government. So I mean, they just middle class, but we had enough resources. We traveled everywhere when I was little, and you know how it is when you're a little kid and your parents like try to get you to do things. You're like, I don't care. So now, like, yeah,
Just
you
want
have to
ice
do things
cream
as an
now.
adult. Yeah, exactly. Like you have to do things as an adult, otherwise, I mean, I'm glad I did all those things, but I'm
Yeah,
like, I should have paid more attention. But there was no way you were going to get me to pay attention at like 12 years old,
yeah,
to shit
exactly.
like that. So you got to make that trip again. So yeah, we got to figure out. So you'll be bouncing around. You're headed back home. I'll be in the states, and then shout out Francis if he ever watches these. We're gonna try to. At least you and I are going to try to get somewhere where we can be in the same zone or the same area for a while, so we can work on a few things. And Spain seems to be the place to be. I don't know if that's because of all the hype with the digital nomad stuff lately. I mean, obviously it's an awesome place. I would love to go back there. I was in the Canary Islands, which doesn't really count as Spain, just because it's so far away. It's like we have Hawaii, but Hawaii is nowhere near the U.S. It's in the middle of the ocean,
Yeah,
and Spain has the Canary Islands. But it sounds like an awesome place to be. But that's something in the future. So we'll maybe try to get some of our friends and members that we know through Francis to meet us over there to do it in real life something, whether it's a workshop or just figure some type
yeah,
of
hundred
project out we
percent.
can all do.
It's
Other than
got
that,
to
the best
happen.
part about all this is that you really don't have to plan that far ahead. I'd like to do what you're doing, where I like to know. Again, they're making like margaritas over here or something. But I like to do what you're doing, where like I plan like my next two stops out. Like I like to know, because I don't mind being spontaneous, but I don't, you know, I don't want to like 2 days and our visa's up. We got to figure out where we're going. I don't like to do that.
Yeah.
But you know, this lifestyle you can do that. You can. The technology is so great. You can search flights, search Airbnb or whatever platform you want to use for a good deal. And you know, as long as you've got somewhere to crash, you don't really need to know anybody. I mean, the world's getting so small now, not just because of the travel, the air travel and everything, but just all the platforms, Facebook groups. Um, Chances are, after you do this for just a short time, like I haven't been doing this very long, and you haven't either. And just look now, look at the people we know at different places. You know, like if surely
Yeah.
if one of us was headed somewhere that we hadn't been, somebody who knows somebody will be there that we can link up with. You know, so it's a
Yeah,
pretty small
exactly.
community.
Yeah, for sure. And I think there's two things. There's one, if you're in a job now and you're like planning to make the jump, like if you can like build that runway, if you like, so you've got like you've got backup. One, you've got like proper backup if shit really hits the fan, but also you've got like cool. If I didn't book accommodation until the last minute, I could afford to just find somewhere really quickly. Mainly for peace of mind. Um, it's just it's quite nice to know. But I agree with you. It's nice to for peace of mind to have like a couple of like the next 3 months is booked and I know where I'm going to be for most of the time. And then a few points here and there, it's like, oh, cool. I can kind of wing it.
Yeah, and other than some of the visa requirements, which aren't that, I mean, everybody makes a big deal out of them, especially in some of these Facebook groups. Everybody's panicking. The rules are pretty easy to find. You know, it's a little annoying, kind of like what you're having to go through now with the Shenzhen and all that. But um, you know, like, every year that goes by, or almost every day now, these countries are getting more modern with their immigration and everything else. And it's just
Yeah.
you can do most of it online now. So like everything, I guess, in my mind that was a barrier, or that I was making a bigger deal than it had to be, after moving around a couple of times, it's just, you know, you get to a new place and you check into however your accommodations are. You find a store nearby in case you need something, and you do a couple laps around the neighborhood. Like, okay, that's where the bar is, that's where the convenience store is. Um, you know, I mean, there's really nothing to it. But in the beginning, before you like take the leap and you do all this, it just seems like some big insurmountable thing. Like, what am I
Yeah.
going to take
Yeah.
with me? Things that I was worried about, like packing before we left the U.S. the first time, is like, oh, I got to take all this stuff. I'm not going to be able to buy my stupid clothes or whatever. And then you get to a lot of these places, and they have everything you need. I mean, there may be certain brands you can't get, but there's an Apple store everywhere. There's there's clothing stores everywhere. So like I guess in my mind I was like, I gotta pack everything I'm going to need for a year. I'm not going to be able to buy certain things. How are my accommodations going to be? Like all these little stupid barriers that I had. And then after bouncing around, after being in a few different, very different places now, it's all the same. The
Yeah.
food's a little bit different, but because people live in these places too, and they need the same things that we do. So all those little barriers that I had, those mental blocks that I had, and like I'm not sure about this. I feel really silly about now. So anybody who's planning on doing this, and again, you don't have to do what we're doing. You don't have to leave for 6 to 8 months at a time. You can start small and go on a 30-day trip or something, or go 2 weeks somewhere. It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
sell everything, get rid of all your stuff, and leave for half the year. I will say this: if you get rid of most of your things and you don't have an apartment or a house to maintain back home, it's more freeing, and you're kind of like you have to you kind of because you don't have a home, you kind of have to be somewhere.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of like having that crutch, like when you want to thrust yourself into a new job. If you have a backup, you're more likely to fall back into those old habits. So I know these are two
Burn the
different things.
boats. Burn the
Yeah,
boats. I can't remember the name of. I can't remember his name, but the Spanish conquistador in the Amazon. they arrived, and he
Yeah,
was like,
yeah,
"Burn the boats. We're not
yeah.
going back."
We're all
It's
leaving.
like,
Yeah,
oh
yeah,
shit, they must have been sat there like, oh no.
yeah.
Like,
No,
oh,
it's
fuck.
true. I think if we had a car or a place that we were paying for, uh, I don't know that we would be that tempting to go back. But it's almost like there's certain things in life you just have to get rid of your own safety net. No matter how mentally tough you think you are, you just have to get rid of that fallback.
Yeah,
Because when I quit that job, the job I had before we went to Mexico, the copywriting job that I have now, but the job I had before we went to Mexico, was a job that I could only do in Florida. I was only licensed to do the job there, and I had to be in that city. So when I left there and I let my license expire, I was like, well, fuck, now I have to figure this copywriting thing out, or I guess I'll be bartending at all these hotels we're staying at. So that's a little extreme, but it does work. If you really want to try this shit out, just get rid of everything and leave and quit your job and take all your money out,
yeah.
everything else.
I mean, it's yeah. There will be some people that are like, fuck, and like they won't like it, and that's cool. You adapt for what makes you feel comfortable. But for some of us, it's fucking exhilarating.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
oh yeah, it's on now. Like I have to make this work, and it's
yeah,
great. And I think one of the Alex Hormozy talks about this in that you either have, and it's the carrot and stick. I think he referred to like an experiment where with mice, obviously, where they were either motivated by the cheese at the end of the tunnel or motivated by the cat that was chasing them or whatever. And it's the same with this scenario. You've either got all the pros of living this life ahead of you, and you're like, cool, that's what I'm chasing. Or what will drive you is I don't want to go and work for that company again, like the cat. Like I don't want to be tied to this location again. So use that to drive you. Um,
yeah. No, absolutely. And it doesn't have to be super drastic either. Like we only flew an hour and a half from where we were living, different country, but still. But if we needed to go back, we could have been on a flight in a day. We could have been home.
yeah,
Um, and the U.S. is big enough that if somebody really wanted to try out the Nomad thing, they could just go a couple states over. It's big enough
yeah.
for that. So it doesn't, everything that we're doing now, like going to different countries on the other side of the planet, it doesn't have to be this extreme. But
Yeah,
it's
what's the worst
definitely,
case scenario as well, right? Like
well, that's
calculate the
right.
worst case scenario. It's like, okay, well, in 3 months, if it doesn't work, it's going to cost me a £300 flight to get home, and then I look for a job.
Right. Yeah.
It's
And,
not
and, ch-
that bad.
and chances are you learned a couple of things and you probably got rid of things before you left that you didn't need anyway. So even if you went back and moved back into something, your life is probably a little bit better than when you left. So the flights are 6 hours from now. Then I'll one of the. I mean, besides, it's nice to be back home. I'll be back on Eastern time where most of my clients are. So, and it's always good to be back anyway. And
Do you
it
get jet
really,
lag?
yeah, I'm still jet lagged from when I flew this way. I'm still fucking tired.
Fuck.
Yeah, now they're hammering, but yeah, no, yeah, it's gonna be bad. So we're going back, and we're both 43, which isn't old, but it's old enough to know that you have to take it easy for a couple of days. So we're going back. We're staying at an airport hotel in Denver where we land in Colorado after we go through customs and all that crap. And we're going to stay there for 2 days before we see anybody because we're like, this is going to be our adjusted
Sure.
time. We have a car that we'll use to go to stores, buy things that we couldn't get while we were gone. And those are just things that, as a grown up, you have to plan for, when you get back. So there are ways to make this like when I was younger, I would go fucking drinking and partying all night and then get on the plane. I'm like, fuck it, I'll sleep on the plane. And then you show up to where you're at and you just get off the plane and go right to work. Now I'm like,
Yeah.
3 days here, 3 days there. Um, so yeah, the next
Is there
time we
anything
do
you're
that,
craving from the US? Like, is there any food
uh,
or something like that you're craving?
I don't know, man. The food over here has been pretty good. Now, where we are in Da Nang, they don't have like the kind of steaks that we do, but Bali and Kuala Lumpur did. So that's a good question, but I mean, I could eat anything. Like nothing's really crossed my mind. I do really want to upgrade some of the electronics though, and that's a little bit harder to do. But honestly, I
Yeah.
haven't missed much, and it is good to leave. Obviously, my country has its super awesome things, and it's got its problems too. But when you leave for a little while, you tend to miss the good stuff. Like I'm looking forward to just all the thing I can get on Amazon on the app on my phone, and stuff shows up that day. Like I can order something and it'll be
Wow.
there in 2 hours. Yeah, which is fucking ridiculous. But like
That's crazy. Yeah.
yeah, little things like that. Just the super convenience that we have. I'm looking forward to that in the stores everywhere. It sounds like a really douchebag American thing to say, but it's true. I'm just used to all these. I want to be able to walk
No,
down the
if you're
street.
used to it, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I'm sure it's the same with you. After you're gone for a while, like you tend to get like the negative stuff out, and you're like, you know what? I'm really looking forward to getting back and seeing a few things.
You
So
appreciate it. You're in another place, and I mean, don't get me wrong. I have not been to any. Like most of the places I've been to are pretty developed, very developed. So there's only a few things here and there, like that that are unusual, and so you appreciate how good things are back at home because we are from the most developed countries in the world.
right,
So there's a lot of privilege there that I understand.
yeah,
Um, to be honest, the one thing that I miss is a Sunday roast, like a good Sunday roast. It's like the one meal that the English have done pretty well. Apart from that and the English breakfast, everything's pretty
yeah.
dire.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh man, that was our favorite part about being in the Canary Islands is there's a lot of you guys there, and there's a lot of like I don't know what you guys call them, not cafe, but anyway, one of our favorite places was this little English place down the way. Huge English breakfast. I mean, just like the kind of food that you eat and you have to go right back to bed because you're so fucking tired. Oh god, it's so good. But
yeah,
yeah, no. Next time we do one of these, I'll be back in the States, and we'll have maybe try to mess with our cameras a little bit. Every time we try this, we try to improve a little bit. The seven episodes in now, 100 days in. I'd like to think we're getting better. Maybe we're not, but
tell
we
us,
try to.
please.
Yeah, yeah. Please do. Please go ahead and leave, like as usual, leave comments in the under the video, and we'll get to whatever topic. And again, feel free to tell us if we suck or not. But we do have you guys in mind where we're trying to improve, whether it's audio, video. I'm mindful every time we record something and the audio doesn't sound good. I'm like, we got to figure out how to fix this. So we're iterating as we go. But that's all I got. uh, I don't know.
Yes,
I
stay
never.
tuned for more travel stories and
Yeah, yeah,
remote business tips.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We'll be back next week. I forgot. I don't even know if
Yeah,
we're talking. Actually, I have the thing up here. I'll be just. I'll cut out some of this fluff here in the middle. I do have. I do have
I
our
think we
thing
just
up.
leave it like this. Honestly, leave it
Yeah,
like this, and let's
yeah,
say, see you later, guys. We'll see you on the next episode.
yeah, yeah. We'll catch you next week. I'll be in Denver or some shit. We'll figure it out. Be a different change of scenery here. Got the sun creeping in on me, and whatever. I don't know why this is so hard
See you
to
later,
end.
guys.